Feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges? At Salt River Therapy, their therapists provide you with a safe, affirming space to heal and grow.
Salt River Therapy Practice offers compassionate, quality therapy for individuals and couples, both in person in Brooklyn and virtually throughout New York and New Jersey. Salt River Therapy specializes in anxiety, grief, low self esteem, identity issues, trauma, relationship challenges, and more. They accept most New York Aetna plans and have a sliding scale rates available.
Ready to prioritize your mental health? Schedule a free consultation today at saltrivertherapy.com. That's saltrivertherapy.com. Let Salt River Therapy support you on your journey to well-being.
Hey everybody, before we dive into today's episode, here's a quick tip about digestion. To Bloat by Lumo is a supplement that combines probiotics and digestive enzymes to ease bloating and support gut health fast. It's made with just four ingredients you've probably heard of: papaya, pineapple, soybean, and tempeh. Just one capsule around mealtime does the job.
Head to trylumo.co and use the code INFO on the go for an additional 15% off, or just click the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm William,
And I'm Kat,
and that must mean this is Info on the Go.
answering questions you want to know.
So, Kat, do you know why we call Georgia the Peach State?
Because it produces a lot of peaches?
Yeah, I thought that too, but no. And we're going to wait till the end to explain why.
Georgia on this episode of Info on the Go.
So, Georgia was the fourth state to ratify the United States Constitution on January 2nd, 1788.
Before Europeans arrived, Native American cultures in Georgia went through four stages: Paleo, Archaic, Woodland, and Mississippian. These cultures left behind artifacts and earthwork mounds that can still be seen today.
Yeah, have you ever been to Kalamaki or Mogi in Georgia?
Uh, no. I have seen the grounds up near Helen, Georgia, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's kind of about the same. Kalamaki is probably it's one of my favorite places to go.
Gotcha.
Anyway, people have lived in Georgia for at least 13,000 years during a time of significant climate change. At the end of the Ice Age, sea levels were much lower and the Atlantic Ocean shoreline was far from where it is now.
Researchers found fossils and artifacts at Gray's Reef National Marine Sanctuary, which was once dry land connected to the mainland. These artifacts date back over 10,000 years to the Clovis culture and the Paleo-Indian hunters.
Another study suggests that Burke County was a significant center for Clovis culture due to its abundance of stone materials for making tools. Most Paleo-Indian points in Georgia were found in a strip of land that crossed the Piedmont and the Atlantic Plain.
The South Appalachian Mississippian culture was the last of the mound-building Native American cultures that lasted from 800 to 1500 AD. They built urban societies with platform mounds, developed hierarchical chiefdoms, practiced intensive maize farming, allowing for denser populations.
Isn't maize the same thing as corn, or is it different?
Hmm.
I think we should do a whole dash on maize.
I thought maize was a grain.
Well, corn is. Corn and maize are the same thing. Anyway, we'll do a dash on it because I think corn is interesting and fascinating.
Right.
You know what? We'll cut all that out. They also created ornate items from copper shell and mica with motifs known as the Southern Eastern Ceremonial Complex, or the SECC, which is the largest surviving sites in Georgia: Kalamaki, Etowah, Nakuchi Mound, and Mogi National Monument.
In the late 1500s, the Spanish set up some Catholic missions, but they didn't stick around for long. By the early 1700s, they were mostly gone, and their influence on Georgia was minimal.
When Europeans began colonizing America, the Cherokee and Muskegon and Hitchini peoples lived throughout Georgia. The coast was home to small Muskegon, mainly the Gal associated groups to the east, and the Tacoma to the south. These tribal lands extended into central Florida and bordered the Hikichi territory to the west.
The Muskegon peoples were related by language to the larger Muskegon nations and the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Coushatta, along with other small tribes along the Florida-Alabama Gulf Coast. Archaeology shows these peoples lived in this region from at least the 12th century to colonial times.
The name Appalachia came from the Timcoman language and the Appalachian group from the northern Florida.
Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon might have sailed along the coast while exploring Florida. In 1526, Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon tried to start a colony near St. Catherine's Island, where the first Catholic Mass in today's U.S. took place.
From 1539 to 1542, Hernando de Soto, a Spanish conquistador, led an expedition through the southern United States, including Georgia, meeting many native groups, mainly part of the Mississippian culture.
In 1562, French Protestants founded Charles Fort on Paris Island, South Carolina, but it failed within a year. Most colonists moved south and started Fort Caroline in Florida. Over the next decades, Spanish explorers visited inland Georgia. By the mid 1600s, the Mississippian culture had disappeared, likely due to European diseases. Remaining peoples became the historic tribes.
Like smallpox.
Mm-hmm.
In 1690, English fur traders from Carolina met with Creek people and built a fort at Okmulgee, trading tools, guns, clothes, and rum for deer skins and Indian slaves captured in tribal raids.
Around 1670, the conflict between Spain and England over Georgia started when South Carolina was founded near the Spanish provinces of Gual and Mocama, part of Spanish Florida. Both areas, located in today's Georgia, were frequently invaded by English and Spanish colonists.
Oh, wow. By 1704, the English had destroyed the Spanish mission system in Georgia. The coast was then occupied by the Yamasee American Indians allied with the British until they were nearly wiped out in the Yamasee War, which lasted from 1715 to 1717.
The remaining Yamasee fled to Spanish Florida, leaving Georgia's coast empty, allowing the creation of a new British colony. A few Yamasee stayed and became known as the Yamacraw.
In the early 1730s, James Oglethorpe proposed settling the area with the worthy poor of England to relieve overcrowded debtors' prisons.
He and other philanthropists received a royal charter for the colony of Georgia in 1732.
Although many believe Georgia was founded as a debtor colony,
it was more about providing labor through English convicts. Oglethorpe and the trustees created a plan for Georgia to promote family farming and prevent urbanization. Land ownership was limited to 50 acres, but larger grants were given to self-supporting colonists.
And the first settlers arrived in Savannah in 1733. Between 1735 and 1743, Georgia garnished Fort Oglethorpe. The first settlers arrived in Savannah in 1733. Between 1735 and 1743, Georgia garrisoned Fort Tuskegee to complete the French trade. In 1742, during the War of Jenkins' Ear, man, we got to do a whole thing on Jenkins' Ear. That's
Oh,
going to be
yeah?
a dash. Yeah, for
Okay.
real. So, Jenkins' Ear, Spanish forces invaded Georgia, but Oglethorpe's troops defeated them at the Battle of Bloody Marsh, securing Georgia's position through the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle.
From 1735 to 1750, Georgia banned African slavery, unlike other British colonies. However, the economic success of slave-based plantations in South Carolina led to the ban being lifted in 1749. Between 1750 and 1775, the enslaved population grew rapidly, reaching about 18,000. Slaves from West Africa contributed to the development of Georgia's agricultural system, including rice and indigo cultivation.
Did you know that Georgia grew rice?
I did not know Georgia grew rice, but I did know that James Oglethorpe was
Abolitionist?
he was an abolitionist. He was also a Quaker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he
He
founded
was a big
Savannah.
Quaker,
Yeah.
and that was probably why slavery was initially banned.
We'll have to do one on James Oglethorpe all the way around and Savannah. Maybe a dash followed up with this because it has got some historical significance for sure.
Right.
In 1752, Georgia became a royal colony, attracting wealthier planters from South Carolina who dominated the region. These planters often left their plantations during the summer to avoid diseases like malaria and yellow fever. By the 1750s, British settlers lived as far south as Cumberland Island, engaging in illegal trade with Spanish Florida. I did not know that.
Me either. The Georgia coast's large plantations, worked by numerous African born slaves, developed a unique Gula or Geechee culture, preserving and blending West African traditions with Native American and European American influences. Georgia was mostly unaffected by the Seven Years' War, except for fears of a Spanish invasion from Florida, which never happened.
In 1766, Governor James Wright noted that Georgia lacked significant manufacturing, relying on imported goods from Great Britain for most supplies.
Royal Governor James Wright was well liked, but all 13 colonies, including Georgia, were unhappy with London. They wanted a government based on the people's will and rejected monarchy and aristocracy. The colonies demanded no taxation without representation and opposed the Stamp Act and other royal taxes. They were especially concerned about British punishment after the Boston Tea Party.
In August 1774, at a meeting in Savannah, Georgians declared their support for the idea that protection and allegiance go hand in hand, and that there should be no taxation without representation. Although Georgia had few grievances, they supported the Patriot cause and expelled the British.
In May 1775, patriots in Savannah attacked the Royal Magazine and took its ammunition. By June, they celebrated the king's birthday with a protest and erected a liberty pole. Within a month, they defied royal authority and set up their own government. They chose a council of safety and a provincial congress to take control and prepare war.
In February 1776, Wright fled to British worship and Patriots controlled Georgia. The new Congress adopted rules on April 15th, 1776, which became the Constitution of 1776. Georgia declared independence along with other American colonies. Georgia became a state with a weak chief executive and no Senate, with power in the hands of the elected House of Assembly.
The British captured Savannah in 1778, and many enslaved Africans escaped to British lines where they promised freedom. About one third of Georgia's 15,000 slaves escaped during the Revolution.
Patriots moved to Augusta, and in 1779, American and French troops unsuccessfully tried to retake Savannah. By the end of the Revolution, Georgia had a loyalist government along the coast, and together with New York City, it was the last loyalist stronghold. I did
Mm.
not know that. Did you?
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Nope, I had no idea. The end of the war brought a new wave of migrants through Georgia, especially from Virginia and the Carolinas. Georgia ratified the U.S. Constitution on January 2nd, 1788.
The original 8 counties of Georgia were Burke, Camden, Chatham, Effingham, Glenn, Liberty, Richmond, and Wilkes. These counties were named after British government members who supported the American cause during the Revolution. Most Loyalists in Georgia stayed after the war and were encouraged to stay by leading patriots, ensuring they were not mistreated in the new Republican government.
European Americans started settling in Georgia, which was home to the Creek and Cherokee nations. They pushed the government to remove the Native Americans, and after the Indian removal in the 1830s, more settlers arrived.
The invention of the cotton gin made it easier to process cotton, leading to a cotton boom in Georgia and in the Deep South. This boom relied heavily on slave labor, with large plantations making some people very wealthy, while most white farmers worked small family farms without slaves.
In January 1861, Georgia left the United States and joined the Confederacy a month later. At first, rich plantation owners and small farmers worked together to support the war.
About 120,000 Georgians fought for the Confederacy, but by 1863, many were unhappy. People were struggling, food was scarce, and some soldiers deserted. Meanwhile, around 5,000 Georgians, including black soldiers, joined the Union Army instead. Governor Joseph E. Brown blamed Confederate leaders and wanted Georgia troops to stay home rather than fight far away.
Battles in Sherman's March. Georgia saw major battles during the Civil War. The Confederates won the Battle of the Chickamauga in 1863, but things got worse after that. When President Lincoln freed the slaves in 1863, many ran away to join Union forces. In 1864, General William T. Sherman led an invasion of Georgia. Confederate generals tried to stop him, but Sherman captured Atlanta in September.
Have you ever been to Grants Park and to the museum and seen the mural that's in the museum there?
Mm-mm. No, I have not.
It is a sight to intake. It kind of details the battle and Sherman's march to the sea.
Huh.
That November, Sherman and his troops marched across Georgia, destroying railroads, burning farms, and taking supplies. Many escaped slaves followed them, hoping for freedom. By December, they reached Savannah. The destruction was massive. Sherman estimated $100 million worth of damage. And in today's money, that would be somewhere around about $1 billion. His army ruined 300 miles of railroads, took thousands of animals, and destroyed food supplies.
Sherman also targeted civilians. In one case, he had 400 women working in a factory arrested and sent north, calling them traitors. Many never returned. His march became legendary and was later depicted in Gone with the Wind.
And it is, in today's standards, he would be a war criminal. Sherman
Right.
would. Yeah.
Agreed.
Food shortages and hard times. By 1861, the Union Navy had blocked Georgia's ports, stopping cotton sales and cutting off food and supplies. The government begged farmers to grow food instead of cotton, but many refused, thinking the war would end soon. As food ran out, poor women rioted, stealing flour, corn, and meat to survive. Meanwhile, Atlanta became a key railroad center, making it a top target for Sherman.
Andersonville Prison. In 1864, thousands of captured Union soldiers were sent to Andersonville, a prison camp in Georgia. The camp was overcrowded, filthy, and had almost no food or medicine. Out of 45,000 prisoners, at least 13,000 died from disease and starvation. After the war, the prisoner commander, Henry Wurz, was executed for war crimes.
Have you ever been to Andersonville?
No,
It's a place to go and see. I mean, honestly and truly, it puts this in perspective for sure.
I didn't even know Andersonville was a place in Georgia.
Yeah, it's got a little museum, it's a hike, and on the first Saturday of every month, I believe the park rangers do a little something for the kids.
Oh, nice.
Check out the website.
Okay.
After the Civil War, Georgia faced economic struggles. During Reconstruction, the state was under military occupation, and a biracial legislator was elected, creating public education and welfare programs. Reconstruction ended in 1875 when white Democrats regained control through violence and intimidation.
They passed laws that disenfranchised black people and many poor whites. During the Jim Crow era, black people were treated as second-class citizens and excluded from politics. Many black people moved north to escape these conditions. Georgia remained mostly rural and dependent on cotton until the 20th century. The Great Depression hit everyone hard.
World War II brought new opportunities with training bases and munitions plants. During the Civil Rights Movement, Atlanta became a hub for activism. Led by Martin Luther King Jr., the state integrated public facilities and the economy grew more diverse after 1950.
Atlanta became a major city and transportation hub. Politically, Georgia was part of the Solid South until 1964 when it voted for a Republican presidential candidate. The state continued to support Democratic candidates in local elections until the 1990s when conservative whites shifted to the Republican Party. Atlanta hosted the 1996 Summer Olympics, marking the 100th anniversary of the modern Olympic Games.
Prohibition was a big issue in Georgia from the 1880s to the 1920s. Before World War I, many people thought the best way to stop drinking was through religious revivals that encouraged people to quit alcohol. Ministers and women from the Women's Christian Temperance Union helped pass local laws banning alcohol in rural areas, but cities like Atlanta still allow drinking.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This Mother's Day, give a gift that is truly special, one that captures memories, preserves love, and lasts for generations.
With TellMel.ai, you can turn your cherished memories into a timeless keepsake. It's simple. Each call unlocks new chapters, bringing to life the moments, laughter, and wisdom that defines your family's history.
After every conversation, Mel carefully transcribes and edits the stories into beautifully written memoir chapters, which can be shared with your family.
These chapters can be compiled into a stunning hardcover book or a digital keepsake, ensuring that your family's legacy is never lost.
This Mother's Day, give more than just a gift. Give the magic of storytelling, a legacy that will be cherished for generations. Start today at tellmel.ai.
By 1907, the Anti-Saloon League took charge and worked with politicians like Hoke Smith to pass a statewide prohibition law. However, loopholes allowed people to order whiskey by mail and buy drinks from saloons that claimed to be alcohol-free. In 1915, a stricter law shut down almost all legal alcohol sales, but illegal moonshining and bootlegging continued.
All right, so we got to unpack this because I've got some questions here. So you could order whiskey by mail?
Right. The mailman just, casually dropping off your booze.
Oh my gosh. Moonshining and bootlegging, I think that needs to be something we do a dash on or maybe a whole episode, but I did not know you could order whiskey by mail. I mean, nowadays you can do it, but you got to show some ID somewhere.
Well, I mean, the whole thing around prohibition is pretty big, so we could do a whole episode on prohibition.
Yeah, because it brought about the rise of the speakeasies and
Mm-hmm.
Al Capone. Yeah, okay. We'll do a whole thing. Back to Georgia. During this time, Coca-Cola became popular. When Atlanta banned alcohol in 1886, pharmacist John Pemberton created Coca-Cola as a non-alcoholic version of a French wine drink. It was first sold at Jacob's Pharmacy for 5 cents a glass, marketed as a health drink. In 1887, businessman Asa Candler bought the company and used aggressive marketing to make it one of the biggest businesses in the South.
I didn't know Coca-Cola was originated in Georgia.
Really?
I did not know that at all.
Oh my gosh, you got to take your girls to the World of Coke in Atlanta.
It's sad because I've at least seen the outside of the World of Coke right next to the aquarium.
Yeah, you could have got tickets for the aquarium and the Coke all in one package.
Yeah, I've been to the aquarium a good bit.
Yeah.
um,
And they can go upstairs and drink all the different Cokes from around the world and all that good stuff.
I knew about all the stuff in there. I just like, Coca-Cola, okay, whatever. I don't know. I'd rather see a whale shark.
Got you. You could do it a day trip. That's what I'm gonna do with my grandkids.
Right. I think
Yeah.
Nova was 2 the last time I took her to the aquarium. So, anyway, he later became mayor of Atlanta in 1916 to 1919, right after Georgia's 1915 prohibition law passed. Atlanta's first airport, originally called Candler Field, was named after him and later became Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport.
One of the biggest airports in the United States, too, by the way.
It's huge.
Yeah. Georgia has a population of 11.18 million at the time of this recording, anyway.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Georgia is the world's largest producer of broilers, which is chickens raised for meat.
3 out of 4 counties in Georgia are involved in poultry and egg production.
Eggs are still freaking about $10, though.
At the time of this recording, eggs are ridiculously high.
Yes. Georgia is one of the highest producing states for cotton.
Cotton is ranked second in the nation for Georgia.
Georgia produces the majority of the nation's peanuts.
Yeah, that's an interesting fact, isn't it?
That is an interesting fact. And you can find a lot of boiled peanuts on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah. Georgia consistently ranks first in the nation in the production of peanuts.
Georgia has more commercial timberland than any other state.
Georgia is consistently ranked the top forestry state in the nation.
Mm.
I did not
Georgia
know that either.
consistent. I didn't. Yeah. No idea. And Georgia consistently ranks first in the nation in the production of blueberries.
And
Oh,
we just mentioned a state that ranks third. Hmm.
right.
You'll just have to go back and listen. Other top commodities are pecans, spring onions, watermelons, peaches, eggs, cucumbers, sweet corn, bell peppers, tomatoes, and cantaloupes.
I didn't know about the fruits.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh
I
man,
I I knew
Cord
about pecans and I kind of knew about blueberries.
Cordele, Georgia is the watermelon capital,
Wow.
and Vidalia is the onion capital. But Vidalia onions are they're like number one.
Right.
Hey,
I knew about Vidalia onions, but I didn't know them being really big in Georgia, though. Georgia is nicknamed the Peach State because peaches are a vital part of its economy and culture.
peaches were introduced to Georgia by monks in the 16th century, and the Cherokee Indians grew them in the area during the 18th century. Hmm.
After the Civil War, farmers began growing peaches as an alternative to cotton. In 1995, peaches were declared Georgia's official state fruit. Wow,
Yeah, Georgia ranks
that's
third.
only been about 30 years.
Georgia ranks third in peach production in the United States, producing 3 to 5% of the country's peaches. And the number one state that produces peaches is
California. However, peaches are a minor part of Georgia's economy.
Georgia's peach industry is concentrated in counties along the fall line, where the climate is right for early harvest.
Georgia peaches are known for their flavor, appearance, and texture.
Climate change is a threat to Georgia's peach industry. In 2023, a mild winter and a late spring frost cost Georgia growers half of their peach crop.
Dang, I didn't know about that. Georgia's peach industry is centered in Crawford, Peach, Taylor, and Macon counties. Lane Southern Orchards is the largest peach grower in the state of Georgia.
Or at least at the time of this recording. Have you ever taken your girls out to lanes on like 96 headed to Peach County?
No, man, I had no idea that it was
Yeah,
even that close.
so they have, you should take them out there sometimes. Uh,
I
I
mean, for
know.
sure.
So, Kat, Georgia, what did you think?
It was definitely very informative. For living in this great state for 20 years or so, I apparently didn't know that much about Georgia.
Yeah, I grew up in Peach County, so
Well, you probably knew
kind
more than
of.
I did.
Some of it was kind of interesting. I did not know that. I always thought Georgia was ranked number one in peach production. I didn't realize that it was third.
I mean, with it being the peach state, you would assume that it would have a very high amount of peaches. Um,
Yeah, you would think that.
I mean, and for it to be, for us to have said that it's part of the Georgia economy, it's really not that big a part of the Georgia economy. So I'm trying to figure out why the peach state. Were we just like left out on the fruits
Yeah,
in this state?
I know
We
we grow a lot of cotton here, and we grow a lot of pecans here in Georgia. So
is there a well, I guess pecan is not a fruit, and
no,
cotton is a although we all wear cotton clothing and have cotton blankets and all that good stuff, cotton has a controversial history.
we're gonna do one on cotton. It is on the list. I have it on the list to do. I,
Uh,
I just haven't had time to like look through it yet, but we're gonna do it.
right. That's fair enough. I did know that there was a lot of historic sites here in Georgia. The part of Georgia that I grew up in for the most part is West Georgia, and there is a Sweetwater Creek that has an old mill that you can go walking on it, and it's pretty close to North Georgia where there's um you can go to the mountains and go rock mining and then
Point. There are a lot of historic places you can go to Georgia. There's Andersonville. Andersonville is unique.
mhm,
You have Plains, Georgia, the home of Jimmy Carter. You got, and then you got the little White House, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, there in
mhm.
Warm Springs, Georgia. So,
And you can follow the trail that Martin Luther King made speeches at.
Yep.
Uh, Here in Dublin is one of them. There's also, you can follow some of the Trail of Tears if you're interested in that as well. I've been to, in Rome, Georgia, there's a house that had really good history. It was a little museum, a very nice farmhouse. Showed the property and stuff about Native Americans, and you can follow the Trail of Tears up there too. There's the Silver Comet Trail that follows all the way up the Appalachian Mountains. In any case, that's all I have.
Yeah, that's all I got to.
If you would like to support this podcast,
You can click the support link in the show notes.
William and I want to thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you so much for listening.
Join the Facebook group at Info on the Go
Share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
Subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
Email us at,
Info on the Go podcast at gmail.com.
and yes, that is all one word. Till next time.
Stay curious.